Okay, and welcome everybody to Turtle Talk on These Changing Times Radio. And we were just having a funny moment right before the show. If you could be in on some of our conversations before the show, you would see that it has nothing to do with what we're going to be talking about, but it sure is funny. And, you know, laughing is part of what keeps us on an even keel, so it's good medicine. But anyway, maybe one of these days we'll remember to hit the record button. Barb was talking about that, so that we can put these impromptu conversations out there for you. But until then, you'll just have to take it from me. This is funny stuff. Anyway, today we do have a topic, and this has happened a couple of times before, and I know it's new for me on the show, but Barbara, she's been taking the lead and getting us topics, and she posted this one, and I said, yeah, this is what we really want to talk about. It's a good topic, and as soon as I get up to it, I want to read. Okay, here we go. No, it's gone.
Okie dokie, folks. Hi, everybody. That's how we do this show. We really are on top of it. We got topics up the kazoozle. Topics.
It's okay. I got it. We've been talking a lot in chat, obviously, because I had to scroll up so far. But the topic for today is, can enlightenment save the world? And what is enlightenment anyway? Quite a bit of discussion going to be taking place here, and we're probably going to branch off into other aspects that define enlightenment, spirituality, things like this. So it'll be an interesting show, and we hope that you stick with us. We're glad that you are here. I do have an announcement that I want to make, and I haven't made this announcement on air specifically because I was hoping what has happened would happen. But I was planning on TCT retiring on the 25th of July. And because at my age and the things that I'm doing now are keeping me so busy that I don't have the time or the patience to have to deal with everything that goes with running the station. And I love TCT Radio. I love what we're about. It had nothing to do with that. But I put out a call and I said, anyone willing to step up, I will turn TCT over to you. And guess what? We have an old family partner, Tara Johnson. You guys may remember her from the earliest parts of TCT Radio. She used to do the Earthships and Gateways show with David Davida. And she is going to be taking over the reins, and she will be producing and running the show. So she will be adding new shows, which will be a really good thing. And we will have a few schedule changes. I'll still be around, and I'll still be doing Turtle Talk, but I won't be producing anymore. I'm stepping back from that. It's a good thing. I need this, and Tara is stepping up. And it's a wonderful thing. I want to send out my gratitude to Tara and thank her. Also, want to give a shout out to Haggy Shack Radio, who's given us this website that you can come to in our chat room and listen to the broadcast and talk with each other. I want to thank Haggy Shack, Colleen, and Nancy for setting this up and doing such a wonderful job. I want to give a shout out to Shaziz Radio, and also I want to let you know that Tracy Kennedy will be coming back. We're not sure when. She's still working on things, but she will be coming back broadcasting also. So keep your ears peeled for that, and we'll definitely ask Tara to put the news out as soon as we find out a date, when and where. So we want to give a shout out, and we're so glad that Tracy is back and doing much better. Also, Gerald Whitehorse Standing, the host of the show I Have Something to Say. his son passed away on Saturday. Anyone wanting to send comfort to him and his family can do so by sending to me in Skype, or if you have Gerald's Skype, you can send directly to him, but if you want to send to him, you can place in the chat here also, and I'll make sure that he gets those. Otherwise, please keep him and his family in your prayers, and he'll be with us again next week for his show on Sunday. And his show will be changing days, so keep your ears peeled and eyes peeled for that on our schedule. Gerald will be moving to a weekday, and we're not sure exactly which weekday, but it'll be after the 25th, so you have time. And just keep checking back with the schedule to see the changes that will be taking place. And with that being said, here we are, Barb. Here we are, and, there's so many changes going on today. Crazy, crazy, crazy changes going on today. And we could talk about 1,000 different things. But in this time today, I think we picked a good topic to talk about. And there's all kinds of self-help gurus out there, people telling you this is the way you got to be, that's the way you got to be. Enlightenment is this way, enlightenment is that way. Maybe it's a lot simpler, than what we are being told. And information is key, right? The more information we have, the better we can determine where we are in our own lives, in reference to our spirituality. And it is important. I do believe that spirituality is important, and I don't care what type of spirituality you exhibit, or who you attribute that spirituality to. It's the defining of self and self-belief, what it is that motivates you in your life, that thing that gives you that urge to do, to be, And so that's what I want to talk about, and Barb wants to talk about today. And I think we're going to start out with. Do you want to start out with the CANT, the Columbia Education link, Barb?
Hey, Patty. Hi, sis.
Hey.
Hi, everybody out there. I also want to mention that I will still be doing my show on Wednesdays, the Unraveling the Mystery as well. So,
Wow.
And I'll be continuing with the really very really intriguing and I think really good read, Anastasia, the books of the Ringing Cedars of Russia. So I'll be doing that too.
Beautiful
and I'm
narration.
really grateful that Tara's coming on to take this, take the reins. And I'm really happy to hear about Tracy. That's exciting. Yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah.
So, I was looking around at this term, Homo noeticus, right? And I said, what is Homo noeticus? And it's like, that got me on this search and the topic here about, what we're going to start out with. Yes, Immanuel Kant, at Columbia University. Read here, write up of that. What is enlightenment? But the Homo noeticus is about a new human being coming into being. And it's not what you're thinking about the
Noeticus, is that like no etiquette?
Yeah, right. Well, we're going to see. We're going to talk about that, what that is, and that got me into this other that I'd like to start with is what is enlightenment? Because I said to you, what that is and what does it mean anyway? And I've looked at this before, and I think this is a really good point, a good perspective here that this Immanuel Kant has written about. And you said this is what'd you say? This is I don't know what term you use, but let's go with it. Because we, sometimes Patty and I, we come into some topics that might be a little, I don't know, intense, real, true, and so on. And sometimes, so this is one of those, I think, in some ways. We'll see how it goes. But so this is the question, what is enlightenment? And there are so many links about that. I liked this one because it kind of like touched on some things that I feel may be very real here about his perspective, and I kind of agree. Let's see where we go with it. But enlightenment, he says, is man's emergence from his self-imposed non-age. Well, the word non-age, right away, both Patty and I said, is that even a word? What is that non-age? Well, it is a word. It's a period of legal minority. It's an age below 21. It's any period of immaturity. So that's... So enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-imposed, the word is very important, self-imposed non-age. So non-age is the inability to use one's own, and he says understanding, but to me the word understanding is more in alignment with what I feel would be enlightenment, and understanding seems to flow better energetically for me. So I use it a lot thanks to our dear brother Lance Singer, who gave us that enlightened word. So it's non-age is the ability to use one's own understanding or understanding without another's guidance. This non-age is self-imposed if its cause lies not in lack of understanding, but in indecision and lack of courage to use one's own mind without another's guidance, and dare to know, have the courage to use your own understanding, and is therefore the motto of the Enlightenment. So laziness and cowardice. Laziness and cowardice are the reasons why such a large part of mankind gladly remain minors all their lives, long after nature has freed them from external guidance. They are the reasons why it is so easy for others to set themselves up as, and he says guardians, and I'm going to say controllers, too. Okay, it is so comfortable to be a minor. We call this, maybe it's the comfort zone that so-called mature people fall into. So it's comfortable to be a minor. If I have a book that thinks for me, a pastor who acts as my conscience, a physician who prescribes my diet, and so on, then I have no need to exert myself. So I have no need to think. If only I can pay, others will take care of that disagreeable business for me. What do you think about that? Do you want to?
Well, that's really accurate. When we look at the world today, we see a lot of this happening, to where people are looking outward for someone to tell them how to think, how to feel, how to be, how to act. So yeah, I think it's very appropriate. And there are others, however, who do not follow that tack, and we talk about that also. But it does seem today that we have a generation that is galvanized either toward the immaturity or the maturity on both sides. There's no give or take either place. Yeah, I do agree.
Now, I'm gonna take umbrage maybe with this next sentence, but let's see what you think. So those guardians who have kindly taken supervision upon themselves see to it that the overwhelming majority of mankind, among them the entire fair sex, should consider the step to maturity not only as hard, but as extremely dangerous. So first, these guardians make their domestic cattle stupid and carefully prevent the docile creatures from taking a single step without the leading strings to which they have fastened them. Then they show them the danger that would threaten them if they should try to walk by themselves. Now this danger is really not very great, but after stumbling a few times they would at last learn to walk. However, examples of such failures intimidate and generally discourage all further attempts.
Well, if you're talking about the control,
yeah,
then I think it's apt.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about a parental situation,
right.
I for one, but then again, Barb, I see both sides of this in the home, where
yes.
you have parents that are disconnected from their child's experiences and from their child's teachings, whereas you have other parents that are extremely involved in their parents' teachings, or in their children's teachings and stuff. So, yeah, again, I have to say that I don't think I think that they're very accurate if they're talking about control, because that is the method of the controller. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I also see the same thing like with parents too. So to help a child become self-sufficient and have high self-esteem about themselves, there's certain things that you have to guide them to and trust them with certain things or show them how to be, self-sufficient in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah. And those are milestones. Those are rites of excuse me.
Rites of passage, I think you're going to say. And I agree with you there.
Yeah, and I talked about that, I think, last week for a little bit, on rites of passage and how important that is for children. It is extremely important that children have these rites of passage because that's what teaches them that they have stepped up, they have evolved emotionally, and mentally. It gives them a sense of self, of self-awareness, of self-completion.
I can remember you telling a story. I think you told the story about one of your grandchildren climbing up a chair or something, and there was a whole hoo-ha about that, like let him go, let him explore, let him have that sense that he can do this,
Right. And sometimes they fall.
Yeah.
But guess what? They learn, and it's like there are things that you don't want to let your child experience on their own, like no, don't stick your hand into the fire pit. It will burn you. You're not going to let your child walk up and stick their hand into the fire pit because that's going to harm them. But when you see that they are testing their boundaries, that they are seeing another aspect of life, and they want to experience it. They want to test it out. Children watch adults all the time, and that's one thing. They want to be like those adults, and so they will choose when they can. You leave something laying around. One of the famous things is the remote. How many people with children have to say, where did you put the buttons? The child can't operate the remote, but they know that mom and dad do it, so they should be able to do it, And children do these things. They experiment. They're always going to experiment, and it's up to the parents to be there and be aware when their children are wanting to test the limits, test the boundaries, not to prevent them from doing it, but to protect them in case they go too far,
Right.
Just saying.
So when the controllers discourage further attempts, right, then it becomes very difficult for the individual to work themselves out of the non-age that we're talking about, which has become almost second nature to them. So he has even grown to like it and is at first really incapable of using his own understanding because he has never been permitted to try it. Dogmas and formulas, these mechanical tools designed for reasonable use or rather abuse of his natural gifts, are the fetters of an everlasting non-age. The man who casts them off would make an uncertain leap over the narrowest ditch because he is not used to such free movement. So that is why there are only a few men who walk firmly and who have emerged from non-age by cultivating their own minds. It is more nearly possible, however, for the public to enlighten itself. Indeed, if it is only given freedom, enlightenment is almost inevitable. There will always be a few independent thinkers, even among the self-appointed guardians of the multitudes. Once such men have thrown off the yoke of non-age, they will spread about them the spirit of a reasonable appreciation of man's value and of his duty to think for himself. It is especially to be noted that the public, which was earlier brought under the yoke by these men, afterwards forces these very guardians to remain in submission. If it is so incited by some of its guardians who are themselves incapable of any enlightenment. So that shows how pernicious it is to implant prejudices. They will eventually revenge themselves upon their authors or their authors' descendants. Therefore, a public can achieve enlightenment only slowly. A revolution may bring about the end of a personal despotism or of avaricious tyrannical oppression, but never a true reform of modes of thought. New prejudices will serve in place of the old as guidelines for the unthinking multitude.
As we are seeing now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this enlightenment requires nothing but freedom. And the most innocent of all that may be called freedom, freedom to make public use of one's reason in all matters. Now I hear the cry from all sides, well, do not argue. And the officer says, do not argue, drill. And the tax collector, do not argue, pay. The pastor, do not argue, believe. Only one ruler in the world says, argue as much as you please, but obey. We find restrictions on freedoms everywhere, but which restrictions is harmful to enlightenment? Which restriction is innocent, and which advances enlightenment? And I reply, the public use of one's reason must be free at all times, and this alone can bring enlightenment to mankind. So, should I go on?
Well, I'd like to say that we find restrictions of freedom everywhere, but which restriction is harmful to enlightenment? Anything that prevents you from asking the question and answering it is a restriction to enlightenment. Enlightenment comes in many forms, and it's not just spiritual. There is mental enlightenment, there is emotional enlightenment, there is spiritual enlightenment. All of these things are brought about by the ability of one to question, to look beyond what they see in life. What is given to them is rote. You know, like they're saying, do not argue, drill. Tax collector, do not argue, pay. In order to achieve enlightenment, we have to go beyond that, and we have to say why. We have to question that, and then we have to delve into ourselves and see where that, if that is valid, if it sits with us, and if it doesn't. And that, I think, is where our enlightenment comes from. Just saying.
I also think that this is about feeling, to pay attention to the feelings. If something doesn't feel right and yet you are obliged to obey because the controller or the authority says or society says, that's certainly not freedom. It's just, do as I say, obey, don't argue.
Well, in the home, how many times do you tell your child, do as I say, not as I do,
Right.
And the child says, okay, but when you turn your back, I'm going to do it.
They'll do it anyway.
So they themselves pose that question, why? And,
why?
Yeah,
exactly.
And they answer it themselves. They might get in trouble for it, but they are going to seek their own enlightenment into that. Right. That's natural.
And I think that's natural. Yeah, I agree with you. That's natural, but it soon becomes unnatural behavior because after a while, how long can you endure the punishment that you're going to get for disobeying?
Well, I don't know if you're my granddaughter.
Yeah, right?
She has this issue about not listening when you say, okay, she says, can I go over to so-and-so's and play? Sure you can, but if they're not home or they can't play, you can't go anywhere else until you come home and tell us that they weren't there and you want to go elsewhere. We told her this a dozen times, and we're still at square one. And so she's decided that, no, I don't believe in what you're saying, and I'm not going to do what you say, So, there's that also, just saying.
Okay, so on the other hand, the private use of reason may frequently be narrowly restricted without especially hindering the progress of enlightenment. By public use of one's reason, I mean that use which a man as scholar makes of it before the reading public. I call private use that use which a man makes of his reason in a civic post that has been entrusted to him. In some affairs affecting the interest of the community, a certain, let's say, governmental mechanism is necessary in which some members of the community remain passive. This creates an artificial anonymity, which will serve the fulfillment of public objectives, or at least keep these objectives from being destroyed. Here, arguing is not permitted. One must obey, insofar as a part of this machine considers himself at the same time a member of the universal community, a world society of citizens. Let us say that he thinks of himself as a scholar rationally addressing his public through his writings. He may indeed argue, and the affairs with which he is associated in part as a passive member will not suffer. Thus, it would be very unfortunate if an officer on duty and under orders from his superiors should want to criticize the appropriateness or utility of his orders. He must obey. But as a scholar, he could not rightfully be prevented from taking notice of the mistakes in the military service, for instance, and from submitting his views to his public for its judgment. What do you think? The citizen cannot refuse to pay the taxes levied upon him. So we come into these kinds of things that we have to question, sis.
You can refuse.
Right? You exactly. Can refuse. Yes. And people are refusing.
Right. But you have to understand that when you're dealing with with a system that controls, and you disobey that system, you have to know with maturity that that system is going to push back. And that you
Absolutely.
Are going to be required to stand up or either cow down. That is something that the mature mind would say, this is not fair. The enlightened mind would say, this is not fair. And I'm going to stand up for what I feel is right. There's a consequence to that. There's always a consequence to the actions that we create. So the consequences in themselves have a way of keeping us from stepping up, because like these people, they may say, I'm not going to pay my taxes, and I'm going to stand up to these people, but what happens is their homes get taken, their belongings get taken, they're fined, and they have to be put in jail. And so this system is preventing us from standing up, is preventing us from designing our own reality, so to speak.
Yeah, that's why people are. To me, that would be enlightened. Being more enlightened would be questioning this tax levy on everyone, and all that the above that the society has set in place, basically to control people so that they remain in that period of, the minority or the legal minority below the period of, maturity, because we're sort of like treated as children. That's how I feel.
Well, we're worse than children, actually. We're treated worse than children because children you chastise, but you don't take everything they've got.
Well, if you're a loving parent,
yeah,
you would. That's for sure.
Well,
so
you
indeed, so
them,
yeah.
But
so
go ahead.
Well, I was going to continue.
Yes, what? Continue.
So so impertinent censure of such taxes could be punished as a scandal that might cause general disobedience. See, this is where we get into stuff that is questionable, about what he's saying about, so I don't know. So the question of enlightenment, on so far in what he's talking about of the, the inability, the training that we've received, but our parents have received this training. The controllers have trained everyone to prevent people from becoming enlightened, okay? That's what I feel, or thinking for themselves, or even sensing something is wrong, or questioning.
But
you
then
know?
again, it doesn't work. It doesn't take all the time. It does not. Even in families to where the children have had no guidance, children will grow up and find their own enlightenment and proceed. Children that are brought up in a home with complete guidance may not seek enlightenment as they get older. The system is a control that is there from the time you take your first breath till the time that you leave this realm. And throughout that whole time, you are fixated on one of two things. You're either fixated on obeying the laws that are put before you, or you're fixated on disobeying the laws that are put before you. I don't think I've ever known anybody who says, well, I'm half and half. Either you see, I'm sure there are. It's not black and white. It's never black and white,
Right.
Hold on. We're going to add Barry to the call. Barry is asked to join. So we are going to bring Barry in. Perhaps he got his new computer up and running or got his computer running. I'm not sure. Skype doesn't want to bring Barry on, I don't think. Are you on, Barry? Are you there? I don't think you're there. I don't think you're there, Barry. Nope. Okay, we're going to keep trying to get Barry on here.
So here's a question. Should a society of ministers, say a church council, have the right to commit itself by oath to a certain unalterable doctrine in order to secure perpetual over all its members?
What's going on there?
Need to mute, Barry.
How do I do that?
Skype has got the little blue microphone icon. Click on it.
Still ringing. What the hell's that all about, Pat?
What?
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
What?
it's still ringing. I got bells in my ears.
Hang up and
I can't hear you.
Hang up and come back in. Live radio, folks.
Okay. So do you want me to go on with this?
Yes.
Okay. The question here, should a society of ministers, say a church council, have the right to commit itself by oath to a certain unalterable doctrine in order to secure perpetual guardianship over all of its members and through them over all the people? I say that this is quite possible or impossible. Such a contract concluded to keep all further enlightenment from humanity is simply null and void, even if it should be confirmed by the sovereign power, by parliaments, and the most solemn treaties. An epoch cannot conclude a pact that will commit succeeding ages, prevent them from increasing their significant insights, purging themselves of errors, and generally progressing in enlightenment. That would be a crime against human nature, whose proper destiny lies precisely in such progress. So, succeeding ages are fully entitled to repudiate such decisions as unauthorized and outrageous.
Yeah, well, I have to say that that's exactly what the church does and has been doing for ages and ages upon ages. And it's never stopped. So I think he's off a little bit. I don't know.
I think he is too. I agree with you. I think he's part of the system that's trying his best to help on some level, but he's off on these very more important things. He's basically in the system. Let's go to a man may postpone his own enlightenment only for a limited period of time, and to give up enlightenment altogether, either for oneself or one's descendants, is to violate and trample upon the sacred rights of man. What a people may not decide for itself may even less be decided for it by a monarch, for his reputation as a ruler consists precisely in the way in which he unites the will of the whole people within his own. If he only sees to it that all true or supposed religious improvement remains in step with the civic order, he can for the rest leave his subjects alone to do what they find necessary for the salvation of their souls. So salvation is none of his business. It is his business to prevent one man from forcibly keeping another from determining and promoting his salvation to the best of his ability. So it would be prejudicial to his majesty if he meddled in these matters and supervised the writings in which his subjects seek to bring their views into the open, even when he does this from his own highest insight, because he exposes himself to the reproach. So, yeah, okay. So, when we ask, are we now living in an enlightened age? The answer is no. But we live in an age of enlightenment. As matters now stand, it is still far from true that men are already capable of using their own reason in religious matters confidently and correctly without external guidance. Still, we have some obvious indications that the field of working toward the goal of religious truth is now opened. What is more, the hindrances against general enlightenment or the emergence from self-imposed non-age are gradually diminishing. Would you say that's true?
Well, partially. I think that it's very easy. It's very easy to put words together to say that, and I thought that was real catchy, the way he mentioned that we are not enlightened, but we live in an enlightened age. You know, that's like a misnomer. Because there are people who are enlightened, and there have been people who have been enlightened throughout the ages. And there's not just a few of them. There are millions of people who are enlightened. Not all of them follow the same path of enlightenment, you know. But I think that what he's doing is he's trying to create this is the way you become enlightened kind of thing. This is the way you break out of the mold. This is the way you break out of the control. And there is no one way to do it. He's forgetting about the personal convictions of people and how they're formed within their lives. No two people will ever experience the same experience the same way. Even if they're standing side by side and the same circumstances surround them, it is what they themselves perceive as their truth that will be their enlightenment as to how they move through this, or if they gain enlightenment from this. And I think what he's trying to say in all of this, Barb, is he's trying to lead people into a way of unenlightenment. I know that's probably not a word, but I think he's trying to say it's a defeatist thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's what it smacks of. Just saying. The more I hear what he's saying. Now, the first part of this article, I really did agree with.
Yes,
it made sense.
I agree with. Yes.
But what he's
because.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say because I mean we do see a lot of this, sort of like this, particular holding back, or this state of people unable to think for themselves or take care of themselves or make determinations or decisions for themselves because they're completely dependent upon the system. I mean, we've certainly talked about that on and on and on. We have, so I kind of agree, and that certainly that was a new word that he brought in. So I agree with that, and I think that you're right with what he's trying. I think he's confused because he's in the system. So how can you find this balance here and bring out the truth of what is really happening? Because the beginning of his article, to me, is very right on. And then he's kind of fudging it along here, saying, well, you can't, a policeman can't disagree with the orders that he has, whatever he's doing, or a preacher can't go against what he's been trained to preach,
Exactly. You can't step out of the box that you've stepped into.
That's exactly right. And that's the issue. That's the big problem right there, is that people can't step out of the box. And he's telling them they need to step out of the box because they're still living in the age of immaturity, even though they're adults. But he's telling them also, oh, no, but wait, in this area you can't step out of the box. And in that area you can't step out of it. And you have to pay taxes, otherwise you'll be punished, and so on and so forth. So is Barry here? Is he on?
Are you with us, Barry? Can you?
I'm here.
Boy, that's
Hi, Barry.
loud, Barry.
I'm here.
Turn your volume down just a tad.
That's loud?
Yeah, you're loud.
Okay, just give me a second. Wow.
Still pretty loud. You got a
You got an air conditioner or a
reverberation.
fan going?
Yeah. Say something.
Nope.
A wind tunnel, maybe?
How's that? Is that
That's
better?
better.
That's much better, much better. Go, Barry, go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good
Go
to go?
ahead there. What are you going? What do you got? What do you got? What you got?
I don't know. What are we talking about?
Oh, you don't know? Oh, we're not going all through that again.
We're talking about...
We on
Sorry.
radio right now?
We're talking...
Immaturity.
Okay, first
We're talking about enlightenment. We're talking about enlightenment and immaturity, rites of passage for children, how they gain enlightenment, the ability to gain enlightenment, and
Well, self-awareness, self-knowledge, to be to know your own self and what you are feeling and what feels right for you, rather than being in the system where you are treated, less than a child in the system and must obey. This is what we're living in. And so the topic was, what is enlightenment, and so on. And so, we're still working on that topic. And I have something that I'd like to share about enlightenment after you say something, Barry, if you have anything that you want to share.
I'll let you share yourself. Well, enlightenment, what is, well, really, I don't, that's kind of, let me think about that one for a minute.
Okay, so...
well, I guess, go ahead.
Well, to my understanding, and I'm using that term, understanding, this is the age of enlightenment, or let's say it's supposed to be the age of enlightenment, okay? It's the fifth world, 1,000 years of peace. It's Aquarius, the age of enlightenment. Everybody's, talking about, what is Aquarius and so on. It is about human transitioning into a higher realm of understanding or knowing or being, out of that old paradigm, which is what he's talking about. Basically, is that immaturity and the rule or controller's system. This is the time that we leave that, to become who we were meant to be. And who we were meant to be is a more enlightened being, a more aware, a more conscious, a more connected to ourselves, our inner knowing, our inner wisdom. And rather than relying on the books or relying on the gurus or relying on the teachers, the philosophers, the government, all of that which we have been relying upon for centuries and centuries, which we know is a big lie and controlling us, that we can't even think for ourselves. People refer to the TV to live vicariously, for instance, a life that is really not living, and so on. What does society tell us to wear? What does society tell us? How do they tell us what we're supposed to be thinking or doing or achieving or striving for? So that is not enlightenment. And I feel that this is, the term, the age of Aquarius is spoken of as the age of enlightenment, but it doesn't mean just because we're in Aquarius that you're going to, boom, be enlightened.
Well,
it's something we have.
I think also, too, though, we have to consider that in this age of enlightenment comes in many different aspects, and that this control system has brought enlightenment to many just by the system being in our lives. by us questioning and saying, now wait a minute,
That's
that doesn't
correct.
sound right. Yeah,
That's correct.
Right.
But in this term that he used about the immaturity that is holding people is that you are not allowed to question, right?
Well, they're definitely trying to point us in that direction. You know.
Yes.
Yes. But we're not listening. Those who choose will never take a pat answer like that. Will never be told, how and when and why to be and to believe and to know oneself. That's we were talking in the chat with Anon 9873. I'm not sure if that's Tara or not, but they said that. Let me go right here. It says, I feel we are in the middle of the process of enlightenment. It also depends on the definition of enlightenment, which is true. That's a personal...
That's right.
Yes, it can only be defined personally. Yeah.
Well, there's a term here, or an explanation, or let's say a suggestive on this, that there's a movement from self-centeredness to God-centeredness. And this is a homo noeticus, which is a new human being that is rising. And this is the next link that, I'd like to read from, but it's really about, and the change in consciousness is part of the process of enlightenment. So, and I'll let it go there and see what you have to say, Barry. Hello? Nobody's there?
Sorry, you guys, the Skype is going in and out here, and I had it muted for a second. I'm here now. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You're a little shaky, but go ahead.
So did you hear me?
I'm again having troubles.
All right.
Yeah, I heard part of it. I'm sorry, I'm having a bad time.
Well, the piece here that I
have a really bad storm going right now. Go ahead.
So what I was saying was this homo noeticus is a movement from self-centeredness to God-centeredness. The homo noeticus is a new human emerging. It's that consciousness is the guiding principle by which defines the homo noeticus. It's a radical transformation of consciousness that characterizes homo noeticus as a movement from self-centeredness to God-centeredness. It's a change in consciousness. It's part of the process of our enlightenment.
Well, I do see that. I see a change. I see a shift around the world with people seeking, we'll call it God in their lives. I mean, if you look at the stats on any church that's operating in the world right now, their populations are growing. Unfortunately, a lot of the churches are false doctrine. And people are being misled by some very, very deceitful people operating inside of churches. That's what really, really kind of bothers me as I see these churches gathering populations and gathering numbers like crazy, and what they're teaching is wrong. We are being enlightened. People are starting to realize, one thing people are starting to realize, and I see this in society, is that, there's some very evil things going on in our world. And I think as people see more and more evil, their interest is going to go to something that's whole. And I see that in society.
We also, Pattie and I also had a question about can there be enlightenment without the God principle? This is something also, because I think this is something that is important to look at, but I don't know. I'm a very spiritual person, and I know that there is, I know that...
You know what my definition would be for people to be enlightened?
Barry. So I believe that there is some omniscient intelligence.
To me to be enlightened...
All right, Barry, you keep breaking up, can't hear you. Barry, Pattie, hello?
I'm here.
Pattie, are you
there?
Oops. Yes, I am.
Pattie,
here.
Okay. All right. Just can't hear. I can't. Barry is breaking up, and I don't know where we're going to go with this. So.
Yeah, I think that if we can mute while he's talking, it might help. We'll see. Let's try that.
Okay. I know unfortunately I'm stuck with a bad connection here in the summertime because of where I'm living. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but it's making me. I'm setting up my shows to record them in the morning now because my connections late in the day get bad. But to me, enlightenment. My definition of enlightenment would be people finally getting to a point in their lives to realizing that everything that they're doing right now is wrong as far as the future of their children are concerned. And to me, everything I do right now, every one of my thoughts, every one of my actions are focused on the future of my children because I see a future coming from them that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And what I'm seeing in people now is that they're actually shifting from just talking about getting involved and actually becoming involved physically or actively involved in their communities. To me, that's being enlightened because really nothing else is more important.
Well, in speaking about that, that goes to what I was talking about earlier, that there are several different ways of enlightenment. There's a spiritual enlightenment, a mental and emotional enlightenment, and maturity comes with all three. And what you're talking about is a maturity in seeing the reality of the choices that we've made to this physical world and where they are leading us, where they're leading our children. And I understand that, and I agree with you 100% that there is, that people are waking up. They do see what is wrong today. Some of them, a majority of them maybe, do not understand the workings behind these changes, these encroachments upon their personal enlightenments and freedoms and such. But they understand that something is wrong, that things are not the way they should be. All we have to do is take a look at the world and the people who are rising up to see that this is true. However, there's the spiritual aspect of who we are, and that enlightenment that is, I think, the base, the cornerstone. I know that's a terrible thing because of the Masons. I shouldn't have said that. You can't say that word because it might make people think, oh, no. But, hey, that's me.
You got to be politically correct now.
Yeah, I know. And I'm not even domesticated, so, yeah. But anyway.
Well, if there's a snowflake within them.
Like Barb was saying, the question that we came up with, is enlightenment totally dependent on a belief in a creator, on belief in a God? Or is that spiritual enlightenment, does it transcend that? Does it come from, can it come from another source? You hear me talk a lot of times about the energy of creation, about the frequencies being the creator, and enlightenment can be garnered from there too. So there are many ways of perceiving enlightenment, and we have these structures that are set up in society that say that, well, this is the way you gain this enlightenment, and this is the way you gain this enlightenment, and this is the way you gain this enlightenment. But if we look at the world and we look at the spiritual aspect, the mental and the emotional aspect of enlightenment in people, we see there are as many different ways of achieving this enlightenment for different reasons as many people there are. That's how many different ways we can achieve these enlightenments. None of them are right or wrong, right? They simply are the truths that we base this enlightenment on. And the encroachment that we have of the religious structure, the ideology, the dogma of the control issues in our lives, in education and government, that tell us this is the way it is and this is the way it's going to be. Our historical aspects of who and where we come from, which say this is how it happened and it didn't happen this way. All of these things are controls that keep us in that box that we were talking about earlier, that says that, yes, you can be enlightened, but don't step out of the box, right? As Barb was quoting from an article that we were reading, it was saying like the policeman cannot disregard the orders he's given. He must follow those orders, and the preacher must preach from the pulpit as he's given instructions to preach. And so here we are in society. We have a control that's telling us this is how you gain enlightenment in this box, rules that apply. And your enlightenment can only be gauged so far within the principles of the laws that govern these little boxes. And enlightenment is outside of that box. Right?
So we can be enlightened sheeple.
Yeah.
No, you can't be an enlightened sheeple. I'm sorry, I disagree.
Well, yeah. If you go to
They
church
want you to
every
be a
Sunday,
sheeple.
if you go to
Yeah,
church
exactly.
every Sunday and you put your money in the little tin and you say, "I'm saved,"
Yeah.
you know.
There you go. That's what I was saying.
So the question about the God or creator or whatever, and I don't know, I'm kind of feeling it's only my personal experience that I can go by, is that because I believe in an omniscient intelligence, and I don't believe in a God per se, as people see God sitting up there in a white beard and a white robe on a throne with the pearly gates and all that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about, but I feel that we have all been given a certain wisdom and knowledge, and that society has dumbed that out of us deliberately, so that we are the sheeple. So enlightenment to me is a searching within oneself, and of course it is a change in consciousness then, and how does one begin, or how does one even say, I need to go inside myself? Well, part of the issue with keeping people dumbed down is the reliance and dependency upon the system, on the priest standing there in front of you and your creator or something, or on the teacher or, the government or the system, in other words. So how does one come to that moment where they say, I'm turning away from all of that, from that system, like we keep saying, get out of the system. What is that process? Because it is a change in consciousness. It's an inner standing and an inner awareness and an inner connectedness is what I believe that
and
this
like
is
the
about.
beginning, like the beginning of that article that you read, it takes courage. It takes a amount of courage to stand outside of everything that you know, to step out into that darkness and say, I know what works for me. I know the truth that lives within me, and it doesn't have anything to do with what I've been told back there.
Yeah.
I think it does, and too many people are in fear today.
And don't you think that's
Exactly.
a deliberate?
It's
I mean,
really hard.
So it's a really heavy system here that has people in fear of doing that, just what you said, to step away, to have the courage, because it becomes very comfortable. What we were reading earlier about how to be that immature person, it becomes a lifestyle and a very comfortable. And of course, to step away from that does take courage, But
Well,
the
we've been
system,
taught to be comfortable, right?
exactly.
We've been taught that's what happiness is: comfort, ease.
Well, it's the comfort zone that we talk about, that so many people are in that comfort zone, and they're not fully experiencing life or their own being. They're not developing, they're not advancing, they're not becoming. And it's the comfort zone that people live in, that the system has put them in, and it's fearful, it's terrifying to step away from your comfort zone. But here's the piece that I think is important to look at. It's about trust and faith. To me, if you in order to leap off the cliff, you have to have trust and faith. You know, in order to take that step, or like we say, Pattie, let go of the shore, right? That prophecy about letting go of the shore and going out in the raging river, you have to have trust and faith, right?
Yeah, and you have to trust yourself. You have to trust the truth within yourself, yeah.
So the question is, what are you having, like you just said, you're having trust and faith in yourself, but is that all that you need? I mean, if you don't have trust and faith in yourself, you're really sunk in that river.
Well, that's a really good question, though, Barbara, because in order to have that faith and trust in oneself, one has to be able to validate that truth within them, right?
Yeah.
And in that validation is where they find that courage and that trust to be able to step outside. And we see that happening all the time. You know, and here's another aspect. You know, you have a person who, quote, is considered a sinner, a bad guy, drinks a lot, beats his wife, da-da-da-da-da. He goes to sleep one night, and for some reason, he has an epiphany. And he realizes in the next morning that he's been doing it wrong. You know? So he changes his life accordingly, and he trusts in that epiphany. He trusts in that truth. And so that brings enlightenment. Sometimes that person needs to go to an AA meeting to create that epiphany within themselves, or they have to go to a church and be physically saved in order to allow themselves to feel validated, you know? So again, there is no set way that we can ever possibly say that enlightenment can only come in this way, that it can only be done in that way. It opens up every stereotype and blows it away to me. There are people who say you can only be enlightened through meditation.
Or through my church.
Or through my church. Or through doing this ceremony. Or doing
standing on your head and going, oh.
Right. But yet, there are thousands of people who are standing over there saying, well, wait a minute, I never did that. Are you saying I'm not enlightened? You know?
Right.
Right. Yeah. So here we are. Is it necessary?
So what I hear you... What?
I was just going to say, is it necessary to have a God who can bring this enlightenment, or can this be garnered on your own?
Right. I kind of agree that it can be garnered on our own. I think that there are many people who have had situations like you described, that guy going to sleep and having an epiphany, or somebody has an accident, or something happens to them that is beyond, imagining, and suddenly it changes their whole life, and they start on a different pathway that is, where they're more fulfilled and they're more connected and they're more awake, we would say. So I kind of tend to believe that that's true, and it happens individually. It's an individual experience, and no one has the answer. No one person has the way, is what I'm saying. Would you agree?
Except for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, no one person has the way, if you follow me, I will get you there. No one person has, it's not that way, in my estimation. It's a personal experience, and perhaps one way will help one person and won't help another, or whatever. But I also think that, oh, look who's here.
Yes.
Hey.
Hello, Pattie.
Hey, William.
How's everybody?
We're doing good. William, do you want to sit back for a minute and listen before you jump in, or have you been listening?
No, I actually didn't realise I got the show down to start at midnight over here, so I just tuned in. So I keep forgetting that the clock's gone forward. So.
Well, sit back for a minute, and we're talking with Barry
Yeah.
and Barbara.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, your sound is fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep missing the first hour of your show all the time, so I'll have to write it. I'll have to make sure next week I tune in at 11.
It's okay. You're here. But just sit back, listen, and jump in when you're ready.
Right, I will do.
So, okay, it's top of the hour, so are we going to go on?
Yeah, we're going to go on.
All right. So, I mean, I know I have said, for instance, to people that this is my experience, that I find that I have found answers on so many levels going out onto the Mother Earth, right? And that, to me, that is a piece that is very important. I think it's part of our human nature is to be in nature, and that there's the mystery is there. It's the great mystery, you know. That's my personal experience, and I know, Pattie, you've had that experience as a child. I've always had that experience, and I know that it is nurturing. I receive nurturing. I receive insights. I receive peace. I receive so many things from being out there in nature that I don't get from a book or another person, or not that I haven't received some things from those venues, but my own personal experience is to, you know, be out on the Mother, to be in that realm, in that atmosphere. And I've had extraordinary visions and guidance and miracles, I call them, and things, so on, you know. And so, you know, but I don't know. Maybe it won't work for other people to go out in nature. I tend to think that it will, though, because it's such a mystery and so extraordinary. And I do feel that it is part of our nature. You know, and we were more, as children, connected and free in that realm, and often escaping into that realm from the parental system or the household system that is stuck in the prescribed dominator controller system. So that's all that I wanted to say about that.
Well, also, the thing about nature, and I was raised in nature from the earliest times, until I was 20 years old. Then I moved to civilization. But before that time, nature did hold for me the greatest classroom that I could ever enter, because I learned about life as a child, and I learned these concepts that were well taught by nature. That allowed me to see the truth of life, you know, that life is dynamic, that life has nothing to do with fairness, that life is as it is, and there is no fault to be found. That's the basis of what I learned. And carrying that through my life, I observed. Whenever we went anywhere, I observed people. I watched people, I listened to people, and I was always within my own mind. I was validating my beliefs as I was viewing theirs and their actions, and I never questioned my own values and my own beliefs. It wasn't anything that I've ever done. There hasn't been a time yet that I have had to question the beliefs and that I've had ever since I have a memory. I have never changed in my beliefs. I have expanded them to encompass even more of understanding, but the core values that I learned from my time in nature are what helped me to understand the workings of life in general, and so I do think, Barb, that it's very, very important, that nature is very, very important, and yes, it is healing, but it teaches us respect. It taught me at a very early age that the creation, the creator, the great mystery, whatever it was that created this earth that we live on, must be so extraordinary, must be so perfect, in its
Yes.
form, because I
follow you.
see its perfection in front of me. You know, I have always known that at least, and it makes me feel good because I know that there's something more intelligent than we are out there, which makes me feel so much more better. Just saying. But
I so agree with you.
I've never been
Yeah.
able to put a name or a visage to this creator. But I see the creator in every single aspect of life,
Yeah.
you know?
I totally agree with you. I feel that way too. That's why I say when you just, what I feel, I mean, I've said this numerous times to people, what you are looking for, what you are searching for is right outside your door. You know, that, and I truly believe that. And because that has been the experience of many, you know, many that I know, and you for one, and I think Barry agrees on that, and obviously Anand, who is Tara.
He says that I call him God, and it doesn't. I don't think that that's important because even the Creator himself never said, "I am God." The Creator said, "I am."
Yeah, that's so true.
You know,
if
you go by biblical text.
If you go by biblical text, and that we are supposedly made in that image, you know, so that's something else to think on. And who was talking? Oh, Shaziz, on his show, he was saying if we were gods and goddesses, right? And we talked about that. You guys were on there talking, and it was like and I wrote in the chat, I said, if we knew truly, if we did believe in that, how would we live our life? What would our lives be like, right?
If we were truly gods and goddesses, there wouldn't be any life. We would have destroyed
Well, there wouldn't be this mess, I believe. I'm going to say the opposite.
We don't have the maturity.
Well, if you were a god and a goddess, you would have the maturity. That comes with it, I think. So it's like, although if you look at the Vedas and you look at the ancient stories, which I believe are real, not myths, the gods and goddesses were warring with each other. Right? That's what you're saying?
Stealing each other's boyfriends and girlfriends and going down and causing havoc. And
all that fornicating with whomever they're not supposed to be and blah, blah.
Yeah.
Was that the gods and the goddesses?
Yeah, that was them. You know?
I don't know, but I think I'm talking about another aspect of a god and a goddess, you know, in my feeling about if we were that, I think we might be living in a different way here on this sphere, you know. I mean, we could look at that aspect as well.
Have you ever seen energy and frequency change the structure of something?
Yes.
To make it something that it wasn't before?
Yes.
This is what I see as creator. The ability, we are not alone, right? We are not alone. I think we can all agree on that. That in this wide universe, we are not alone. And if we, through our thoughts and our dreams, can envision and produce a frequency that can change the structure of water, the molecular structure of water, then to me it makes all the sense in the world that the ability of the dream, of envisioning, of projecting frequency upon this energy has the ability to be God. But not within this physical realm.
Not in this current
but within this energy. Right.
Well, I think the frequency piece is a key piece. And of course the frequency, there are many frequencies that we do emanate as human beings. And we have to understand the frequency levels that we're talking about and what happens when you have a frequency, when you emit a frequency of hatred, for instance, what that does. You know, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's not hard to comprehend this. When you emit a frequency of love, what effect that is, you know? It's not just the people around you, it's everything, because it is a wave. We're talking about waves of energy.
But
so
then again,
the frequency.
Right, but then again, think about this, Barb. On the Earth, if a volcano erupts and it destroys a landmass. Is that a negative frequency? If
I wouldn't.
Yeah, if an earthquake causes a tsunami that wipes out the land, it's destructive in nature. It's destructive. It destroys. But it's not negative, right?
No, I don't believe it's negative unless it's manipulated by the controllers. And so there we have that introduction into our life experience, you see. This is where it gets really complex, I feel. And that's why we question everything, you and I, right? That's what we do. When we say, oh yeah, the frequency is key piece, but when things happen that we could look at and say, well, that was bad, you know. Right. But in nature, I don't feel that there are, you know, those negatives. I feel that nature is natural and harmonious. It is us humans who have ego and who have issues and who have prejudices and who have fears, and nature doesn't have that. But we are. That's how we affect nature.
Right.
That's true. But when you are a controller and you are using electromagnetic issues or systems or HARP and all that, and you're affecting the weather, that I feel is a negative. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
In our own lives, in our personal lives, when we use that control to affect our area around us, we are the same as the controllers.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. When we exude hatred or prejudices, we are just like the controllers. That's true. Yeah, we have an amazing gift. I feel it's a gift of power and ability that people are unconscious about because they're flinging all kinds of frequencies around, all kinds of energies that are out of balance. That's what I feel.
Yeah, and then we're adding frequencies. We're creating new frequencies on top of that, you know. Yeah, let's just churn the pot, you know, the soup. Barry, I think you had something.
Not?
Yeah, I think you had something you wanted to say, Barry.
Well, that was about 10 minutes ago, and now I'm completely lost.
Sorry about
that. What about William? Does William want to come in?
Hello.
No, really.
Hello.
One of the things I was...
Sorry.
Do you want to say something, Barry?
Well, one thing that we talk about people becoming empowered and people becoming enlightened. Really, technologies are changing now that in the very near future, everybody will be able to power their houses themselves without relying on the grid. And really, if you think about it, people will be will be a lot more amicable to ideas of stepping away from the system if they have ways of generating their own power. And to me, I see stuff coming now that it's going to make that a possibility in the very near future. That aspect alone, if you can produce your own power, stepping away from the system really doesn't become such a far-fetched idea anymore. So I see this technology coming in solar panels. I see it coming in roofing panels are now making that literally will power your house. You'll never be paying a power bill. You'll actually generate enough power that you'll be able to sell power back to the grid. These are coming online here in the next 6 months, guys, and it's going to revolutionize the way people look at the system, and their ability to get away from the grid is going to change, because when this kind of technology comes to the public's attention, everybody's going to want to envelop it, and boy, oh boy, you're going to see some changes. And like I said, it'll make it a lot easier for people to take on the idea of stepping away from the system completely. Because with electricity, you can do just about everything you need to do to survive. Go ahead.
Yep. What it is, it's funny, you know, like a coin eating, as Pattie would say. That I was just talking online tonight about this, because somebody messaged us and said that they were running low on energy, they felt drained. And I says, go and just spend an hour or so in nature and you know, just close off the world, what we've got around at the moment. We've got so much hatred and divide, and, you know, over in Britain at the moment, we've got the general election, you've got the Scots wanting independence, you've got the Brexit and stuff like that, and all you see is this negative news feed. And this morning, like last night, I couldn't sleep. So I got about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I only live like 5 minutes away from the coast, so I can go down to the beach. So what I did was, I went to watch the sunrise. I took the dog with us at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just sat there. And if anybody, lives near the coast or anything like that, if you ever watch the sunrise, I mean, you don't have to live on the coast. If you ever just sit there and face the sun and just put the palms of your hand towards the sun, you can feel that energy that's coming from it. You might not feel it like the first time you do it. It might take you a while. But what you'll do is you start to feel like a magnetic force that's on the palms of your hand. And that's the energy that we get from nature, and that's what revitalizes it. So today I've been very energetic today, and I feel my energy levels is high. What it is, I know Barbara was talking about frequencies and stuff like that, and that's probably how I got into the spiritual side of it, was through researching, because I believed at the time that life and death is just a change in frequency, and I was researching that, and well, to cut a long story short, I ended up in a lot of trouble spiritually. So I have experienced the dark and the light side of spirituality, which I keep warning people. Like, they'll go to these these retreats and pay loads of money to go and sit and listen to people talk to them about shamanic stuff. And a few times I've asked them what happens when somebody goes through an awakening and it's, they go through a bad phase or something like that. Well, how do you help them, And I just think at this moment in time that there's a lot of people who are like this false spirituality, which people are preaching or making money out of it. What I did when I did my research was I wanted to research all the things that I've been doing. So when I asked, like these are things that I've done since I was a child, like being able to picture another place and as if I was there and stuff like that. And I've always had like people who have like come in like into my spirit, like spirit guides. So I haven't just had the one. Over my life, I've had several, and each one's helped us to teach us a lesson. And I think that spirituality, the best way I can describe it is that every time you do good, it's like a light shining in your heart, and that reflect. And imagine, like, I'm actually doing a talk next week at St. John's College in Durham University about this very thing. And what I want to do is I would like to show people how, like, the light works and stuff like that, and about frequencies, because that's really what I believe in, all the frequencies. I mean, right now, my voice is being broadcast right away around the world. I wouldn't have believed it like 20 years ago if you told us that I'd be on a radio station and people from all over the world would be listening. But right now, around me, all the radio stations and all the television stations are in the air, and the only way that we can pick up them signals is by having a receiver. Now, when we have a receiver, we can pick up that radio station, so we can pick many, and on each band, medium wave, FM and AM, there's many channels within them frequencies. So what we need to do is somehow in our body, in our brain, and I really believe it's the crown chakra, is that within there is the receiver that receives the spirit and connects us with the spirit, and the enlightenment and the awakening is when that tuner actually like tunes into that frequency, and that frequency is like an energy. It like, if you read the Bible and stuff like that, it describes, there are parts in the Bible that tell you that God isn't of human form. Firstly, you've got the story of Jesus, where Jesus is is supposed to be that God in human form. So, and then you've got like in Genesis it says that the sons of God lay with the daughters of man. I know Gerald goes on about this. So we've got this human, the man, and we've got the gods. So I know there was one show we had, I think it was about last year or the year before, we asked the question, is God an alien? And what we always think of is that God has to be like in a physical form. Where I strongly believe that God is like an energy, and that it's the source or whatever you want to call it, and that if we do tune in, we can actually pick up this energy. And I think that the best way that we can tune into this energy is by doing good. Because when we do good, even if we help other people, I try my best to help other people, is that it helps you, and that crown chakra starts to light up. And it's like as if, imagine that God is a giant mirror and that you're shining the light from your crown chakra against the mirror. And as it hits the mirror, it comes back, so the light's brighter. And then imagine that if you've got 10, 30, 40 people all shining at the mirror gets brighter, and we all share. So we create the light, and the light creates us. And that energy is what that's the image that we made in, not the physical one, because obviously there's 4 of us on here today, and we all aren't made the same, so we can't, like, the Bible's sort of saying that we are created in the Creator's image, but not in the physical form that people think, and that's where religion falls flat, because all religions have this figurehead of like a human, that God's human, where I strongly believe, and this is not through what I've been taught, but what I strongly believe in through my own experiences, through the good and the bad sides of spirituality, that there are energies, and through these energies you can do good, you can do bad. It's just like once you go into the spirit world, if you're a bad person naturally in this world, you're going to be a nasty person in spirit. So, and I strongly believe that if you do bad, then that light goes off on you, and you disconnect from the light. And what happens is that the dark forces can't exist in the light, because darkness can't exist in the light. If you went to open the cupboard, the closet, it's dark, as soon as you open the door, the light shines in and the darkness is gone. And I think that's what, that's what...
But William, when we look into the sky at night, what do we see? We see darkness, and then we see light at the same time, existing together. And I just want to say, though, what you said about frequency and energy being creator, we all say that we are connected to the Creator always, that there is not a time, when we don't have that connection there. And this to me speaks of frequency, speaks of energy, because it is the only form that is free-flowing, that is able to connect all living things, can be measured, we have the ability to measure this energy. But I think, just to say that I agree that we have the ability to shine the light on that mirror, and that we have the ability to multiply that light by the amount of people who are doing the same. But I'm one of those really weird people, I guess, that doesn't see evil and darkness being evil, except for on this plane of existence. Because even when we look at energy, if we subscribe to the principles of energy, then there has to be a positive and there has to be a negative to make any type of action upon energy, right? Otherwise, it's neutral. There is no good, bad in energy. It is how we manifest that energy, our imprint that we put upon that frequency, that we put upon that energy that causes it to be one way or the other, just saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to catch it before you went too far.
Yeah, you have to stop us at times or I'll just talk for hours and hours. What it is, the frequencies and stuff like that is, it is well known that if you're feeling low and stuff, you do emit a low frequency, and when you're happy, you emit a high frequency, and that's why, and we do pick it up. I mean, everybody in this room will know when somebody they've met somebody at one point in their life, and they feel like they're threatened or stuff like that by this person, and that is the spirit within you that's picking that up, and everybody has this in them, and it's something that if you've ever heard the phrase kept in the dark, well, we have been kept in the dark for so long, and that we do have power within us, like I've said many times on the show and other shows, that everybody here I'm no better than anybody on this panel or any of our listeners out there, and I'm no worse than any of them. I'm equal, but we live in a society where it's made up of money, currency and stuff like that, so people believe that somebody's better than them because they've got more money, or that they're a film star, or they're a king or a queen, or like that's the way we've been brought up. We've been educated to believe in like the hierarchy system, where it wasn't like that, and even like when I mentioned like my ancestors, that they were tribal, and they had the clan mothers, that it was the women who were the wise ones, and it was the women who were the healers, and it was the women who knew all this, and through them they brought out the spirituality in the men. So of course, like as soon as like Christianity came to Britain, the first thing they did was like to get rid of all the women, the healers and that, but not before they got all the secrets. And if you look at pharmaceuticals now, they're all like a chemical. It's like they've made a chemical version of the natural,
chemical
healing.
lobotomy.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I think that what you've got to do is you've got to lose this. Well, I've never been a materialistic person. If I needed a new television, I'd get the cheapest one. If I needed a fridge, I'd get the cheapest one. I'm not one of these people who go out and get the biggest and best. I drive like a second-hand car that's nearly, 12-year-old. But, so I've never been materialistic. But they're like people who get like really suckered into this materialistic world, that they've got to have a better house and a bigger car and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, I've seen people who like are on like 50, 60,000 pounds a year, and they're struggling, to feed themselves because they've got so much debt on that they actually just they spend most of the time paying for debt. And that's the way that they want you. They want you to think like that. They want you to be like that. When the wages, if you don't have a pay rise for 5 years, like some of our police officers and our firefighters have over here, then after that your wages getting less and less because you've got less and less money in your pocket at the end of the day. And this is what they want you to do. If they could, they would take all the money off you, and then what would happen if the person got all the money in the world? They'd still want more. Money is a very addictive drug. They've turned this piece of paper into such a powerful thing that if you haven't got it, it can make somebody really depressed and and suicidal people have actually killed themselves through this piece of paper. And if you get money, if money comes your way, it makes you happy and stuff like that. So what they've done is they've actually, that piece of paper does actually carry a frequency. Just as like Barbara was saying, everything's got frequencies to it, and that's what we pick up. So that's what makes us feel low, makes us feel happy. Our intuition, when we, like synchronicity, when you see the signs and you keep in the flow and things happen, like where you go, like, and you think, oh, that's a coincidence, Or, well, I don't believe, like, Pattie, I don't believe in coincidences, but I believe in fate or synchronicity, whatever you want to call it. And when you look back on your life, and sometimes we don't look back on our life and say things that, like, and think, do you know what, in my mind I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I should have done that. And that's like the synchronicities that, and sometimes you don't read them. So that, like my brother once said to us, well, the reason it's happening is because you're looking for them, and I says, exactly, that's, I look for the synchronicities,
Well, if the synchronicities didn't exist, you could look for them and you couldn't find them.
Yeah.
You can't,
well,
you can't discount it, because you're right, William, synchronicity is a part of being open and following that energy, following that path or that truth, whatever it is. I've experienced it over and over and over and over again. You and Barb, people that have entered into my life, for reasons that, are just, boom, you're there right when I was looking, right when I needed, right when I was questioning, right when I was asking, the right person at the right time. There's a saying, that says that, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive, right? I think that's very true, but not necessarily a teacher, but the person who is the complement to whatever it is you're seeking at that time. If you're open to it, you draw that to you. It's the frequency, like you said, that you're putting out. If that frequency is one that is calling into you, putting out from you love, and understanding, things like this, then people who have that ability to help you upon that way are going to be drawn into your life, because they're going to be following that energy too, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, exactly, Pattie. It's like, sometimes I've been in groups and they said, if you could write a letter to when you were 15-year-old, what would you write, and stuff like that. And I think that's a bit like what spirit is and our ancestors are. They've lived the life before and they've got the answers. So I went to a group that was called the Compassion Group, Recovery for Compassion, and what they were doing was trying to get you to imagine like your good side and your bad side, and your compassionate side and your critical side. And Pattie, that in 2012 that I'd got took to hospital when I was spiritually awakening, and like you said, when the pupil's ready, the teacher does come along. And at the time, I'd always want to be on the radio and everything, like the synchronicity where what we tried to do, like Northeast Truth, and through them I got connected with you, Pattie, and we ended up doing the radio doing TCT, and then I went on to Gerald's show. No, I was on the Brain Gym at first, speaking to Gerald, and I know like Gerald opened a lot of doors for us. If you talk to an elder, they always answer you with another question, but they're very wise, and I think we can learn a lot from our elders, because we always think our generation is a generation that's invented everything and done stuff like that, and at the moment in time people are too busy on the mobile phones and that, and they don't see what's around them. They don't see the nature or a lot of people will go out during the day, go to work, and then they'll come home and watch a nature program on the television and say, "Oh, I enjoyed watching the nature." And I'm thinking, well, you can go out for free and you can go and, when people buy tapes with wave music on that, that's like I just go down the beach and I can listen to it, and it's really cool.
People will say that they'll say, "Oh man, that was a good show on nature," and in the next breath they'll say, "Honey, get the bug spray. There's a mosquito. There's a spider. Kill it." Just say.
There's a dandelion. There's a dandelion on the lawn. Kill the dandelions.
There's a bear in the backyard getting you going.
Gun.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that everything is about the frequencies, and I feel that when we speak to the universe listens and responds accordingly to how we are speaking. So speaking comes in many ways. It's our voice, of course, with actual words. It is also thought, and it is also emotion, and of course beliefs, because these are still frequencies. When you have thoughts, they are a frequency. When you have an emotion, so when you have a desire, that is a frequency, and you are speaking to the universe, and the universe responds accordingly. To me, you call it synchronicity. To me, it is like this intelligence that is listening and responding to every one of us. It's that reaction of the frequency. And the term, they say like attracts like, right? So, however we are emanating a frequency, no matter what it is, we are going to attract that. So, and it's quite powerful. People call it manifesting. To manifest, let's say to manifest the highest good for you, you have to be aware and alert to the type of energy, frequency that you are emanating out to the universe in your desire to manifest what it is you're going to manifest. So, it's very manifesting or luring, what we call luring, is very amazing and powerful. And when you are attuned and aligned with let's say a divine frequency or high frequency, then that's what you will receive. But if you have an internal, let's say, an internal negative that you are not aware of, now you have to pay attention to your frequency. When you are speaking to the universe, if you are speaking to the universe from that center, let's say heart center of love and compassion and for the highest good, then it will be pure and clear, no glitches, no, let's say like a static, no like energy that is like shaking or that you feel like a bump, that you hit a bump in the road or a brick wall. So paying attention to the type of frequency that you are holding when you speak to the universe, because it can be sabotaged by an internal negative that you may have an imprint of. So let's say that I'm speaking to the universe and I want to manifest health and well-being, but I've just been diagnosed with some awful disease. But I want to speak to the universe because I want to work with manifesting and luring in the health and well-being that I know exists. It does exist. I want that frequency, that health, that harmony, that balanced frequency that exists. So I have to align myself with that. But when I speak to the universe and I say, I draw in all that is healthy and harmonious and beautiful and in alignment with my highest good. And that little negative voice pops up and says, yeah, you've just been diagnosed with this terrible disease, so that's not going to happen. Well, that frequency just sabotaged your communication to the highest good. That's how that works. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I think also, I'm one of the I guess, I don't know, but I've never looked at any experience in my life as being negative. I don't judge myself as oh, you made the wrong decision.
There are no wrong decisions. It's all learning, right?
I always say, well, you didn't get that lesson right. Let's try it again.
Exactly. It's all about our learning, right? The universe is teaching us. Oh, that's how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if I do something that, if I go and I physically harm someone, I will judge myself accordingly, because that is against the law, the one law, and it is against the principles that I came here, the contract that you like to talk about, that we
the original. I call it the original agreement.
Yes.
Right.
So
yes.
if I go against that, then I do, but I don't do that. So, and I'm very conscious of that. I'm not saying that I'm not confrontational. Anybody who knows me knows that at any given day, if you say something and I have a differing opinion, I'm going to jump in because that's just who I am. I don't count that as doing harm. What I mean is if I physically, with intent, malicious intent, were to ever cause harm to someone, then I could say I did wrong. But as far as my spiritual aspect of experiencing life and the circumstances that I find myself in, whether or not I put myself there or not, I don't judge these as you made a wrong decision. You made a difficult decision, and it was a difficult lesson to have to learn, but by gosh, you learned it, But as far as in the physical realm, if I cause harm, I'm one of those people that if I have to pick a plant to heal myself, I have to pray and I have to ask that plant for forgiveness and thank it for the sacrifice that it is doing, that it is giving for me. I'm so conscious of life. I'm one of those people who will dodge a butterfly if I can. I won't step on an ant because I perceive life in such a sacred way because of the way that I have always been. I came into this world, into this life, understanding the sacredness of life. And it was reinforced within my young life. And I've never deviated from that. But I can't judge another person for not dodging a butterfly, for not avoiding an ant. I just see this as my path. And so to me, it's easier for me to move through life and gain the knowledge and gain the enlightenment without carrying all of these predisposed judgments of what should be considered right, what should be considered wrong. In the aspect of causing harm, that will always be harm. If you maliciously take the life of another person or cause harm to another person or living thing in a malicious manner, then that is against the natural law, the one law. It is against the agreement that I made coming here. Other than that, there should be no judgment, as far as I'm concerned, of right and wrong. It just keeps us from growing. If we place these judgments upon ourselves, then we're more than willing to place them on another, right?
Well, when people are very free putting judgments on other people, and that's to me, that is the situation that is really serious here. Judging other people is a low frequency, by the way.
Yeah. I honestly believe that nobody should judge anybody, and that we judged ourselves. We're judged by our heart. And if you look at the ancient teachings where they say about the heart being as light as a feather, I mean, the lost in translation, light, as they say, is like, like weight-wise, it's actually light as in, like, the light, that our hearts are sacred. I mean, there are hidden messages for us that our ancestors has left, and one of them symbols is a sacred heart that says that, if your heart's sacred, then it shines, it's light, and that's what gets you. That's what helps you to ascend into the light. We have lots of people who mention stuff like this, but we always have like the skeptics who, they believe that they're right and what we say and what we experience doesn't exist. Well, I can tell all the listeners who are out there tonight, I'm not just saying this, that I believe that it's not something that I've been taught or anything like that. It's something that I've actually lived through. It's something I've experienced. And like, when I first started talking to Pattie, we used to say that we have to walk our walk, and we have to, we do have to, like, talk our truth. And if the listeners don't want to know what we mean by that, is that to speak our truth is to share our experiences, because our experiences is what we learn from. We learn from each other, and there might come a time when you might need our experience or what we're telling you about that'll help you in your stage of your spiritual growth. Because I strongly believe there is a time in our life where we do have a spiritual awakening, generally later on in life, but some of us have been spiritual for a long time, but then we begin to understand, and then like I said earlier about synchronicities, you look back on your life and you can see all the synchronicities. You can see the ones what you followed, and you can see the ones what you didn't, and it is like a path. There's a path there. It's a long, winding, steep. Sometimes it's very hard, and sometimes that we lose our way. We stray from the path. We see something in the distance and we go to check it out, and for a while we lost, and we so concentrated on this thing and we lose our track, we lose our way. But there's always a synchronicity to guide us back onto that path. And I don't think it's wrong to go off the path now and again. Everybody makes mistakes. I know Pattie, you mentioned earlier about people who kill people. Well, there are people out there who, whether it's been an accident or something like that, that the guilt, what they go through, and the pain and the suffering of what they feel, and is that not what hell is? Like a guilt of fulfilling and stuff like that. And I think the big difference is, and I know you want about bad energies, is that you get the people who they don't feel that guilt, and they'll go and do it again, and they'll murder somebody again, and stuff like that.
With malicious intent.
Yes, and to me there's a big difference between somebody who kills somebody accidentally and is so distraught about it, and somebody will go out and kill and then kill again, and that's what, it all boils down to the good wolf, bad wolf, the compassionate you, the critical you, angel, demon, Christ, the Antichrist. We've all got it within us. We've got the power to love, to create, to show compassion, but we've also got the other side of us, which is hate and anger, and it is like what the story says about the good wolf, bad wolf. Whichever one we feed the most is the one that will consume us in the end. We'll either have a one that will lead us into the light, or we'll have one that will drag us into the darkness. And I've told that story many times, and some people just take it literally, but some people don't understand it. And I know we've had to be properly spiritually awakened, I would say for 5 years, when I've been able to pick up on the energies and stuff like that. So, like, people out there who don't understand or anything like that, or might be listening thinking, what are they talking about? There might come a point in your life when it will click and you will know what we're talking about. and that's why TCT's here, and that's why Pattie and Barbara are here, and all the other people, that we share our truths, because hopefully one day what we're saying will all make sense to you, and it'll help you, and that is that's all we want to do, share our truth, and I know that you believe in that, Pattie, and I know you do, Barbara. Just saying.
Well, you were talking and it made me think of talking about the self-responsibility and the actions that we take. A child, you say, why did you go and hit that little boy? Well, so-and-so made me do it. Why did you go and get into that? Well, because so-and-so made me do it. And I always tell my kids, nobody can ever make you do anything, right or wrong. That final decision is up to you. And that's, I think, where we need to be if we want to seek out that higher part of ourselves, to encourage that higher part of ourselves to grow, is to take that self-responsibility and saying that no one, no word, no book, no person can make you be, say, or do anything that you choose not to do. Self-responsibility is lacking today, and there can be no enlightenment without self-responsibility. Do we agree there? Without being responsible for
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
I think that's the issue with this whole thing about not being mature, is that you don't learn how to take that responsibility.
Exactly.
For your actions or your behavior, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. I believe that we're all, we're all responsible for our own lives, our own actions, and stuff like that. And if you think about your mind, everything you've ever done, everything you ever said is in your mind, in your heart, if whatever you want to say. And at the end of the day, I don't believe in this that God sits there like Judge Rinder all day, or and sits in a court and just judges you all the time, and you're saying, oh well, I did commit adultery, but I pled guilty for coveting your neighbour's wife. It's a lesser charge. It's not. I don't believe in it like that.
Right.
Well, so and so made me do it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I don't believe that there are mistakes. Actually, we're talking about mistakes before. I think there's opportunities, many, many numerous opportunities, and if we don't step out and attempt to do something or attempt to change or find that courage within us because we fear making a mistake, I think that is a big issue because there's this big bad thing, if you make a mistake, you fail, yeah. So I think mistakes to me are opportunities. They're opportunities to learn something about ourselves. So I don't look at mistakes as a bad thing.
Exactly.
I have made many, many mistakes in my life, and I look back on my life now. It's from 74 years old, and I can look back and I can say everything that happened to me, was an opportunity. It was a beautiful gift to me because I'm looking at it that way. I don't say, oh my God, I made a mistake there. Wow, I made a mistake there, because I won't have learned anything if I do that.
Well,
so
I'm 60 years old, and I can on a daily basis laugh at myself,
Yeah.
For the mistakes that I make just in my daily routines. So, yeah. I mean, it's not...
Exactly.
We're not... None of us, no one who is living on this earth today, nobody is perfect. We are imperfectly perfect. Just like nature.
So if you're so fearful of making a mistake, if that's imprinted upon you that you will be looking like a stupid person or a failure or whatever, you will be sitting on that couch. You will not find the courage within you to be out in the world, to move and to change consciousness or to shift into your full potential or whatever, because you will fear making a mistake. And, and mistakes, if you read, there's so many people who have invented things or, uncovered things or whatever from a mistake. Extraordinary things happen from what people call a mistake.
Well,
And
mistakes
that's
are
because
actually...
you learn. That's
Right.
because you have the ability to seek out what it is within that so-called mistake that might be a teaching for you or an opportunity or a different message. That's, again, our free will to do that.
Right. Mistakes are a proving ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why with children it's so very important to, not make a big deal if they have whatever people, the word failure to me and the word mistake, I just think they should be just eliminated from the vocabulary.
Right. Lucy, don't stand up in that chair. Lucy, don't stand up in that chair. You're going to fall. Lucy, don't stand up in that chair. Boom. See? That's what I was saying. Yeah, I told you so.
You made a mistake.
That's what you meant, Grandma.
That's what you meant.
Well, isn't that how we do learn from it? I always say like what you said, Barbara, and I thought that was how you were going to say it, that mistakes are lessons, and we all make mistakes. I don't think there's any, like you said, Pattie,
I think we won't be living or growing if we don't make a few of those. What are you calling mistakes? There's no mistake. I don't know. What is it? Mistake.
But I think we should we should get rid of the word mistake and replace it with lesson.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we've learned, and it's not actually doing the mistake. It's how we react to it.
It's an opportunity. To me, it's an opportunity. That's how I look at it.
Yeah,
what's the gift? What's the gift to be found in this experience? That's how I look at it. Not, oh my God, I made a mistake, And the word failure, to me, I think that's another one to eliminate, So, just saying.
Well, guys, we are at the top of the hour and time to end the show. But did you know that, William, that we are, that TCT is getting ready to change ownership?
Yes, I've heard about it.
Yeah. Tara is going to take the reins, and I'm so happy and I'm so proud of her for stepping up. She's going to be awesome. I'm still going to be here, right? Still going to do Tara Talk.
So it's not be TCT without Pattie.
Yeah.
Pattie is TCT,
but you might.
I'll be negotiating with Tara tonight, and I'm keeping the same wage, so.
Yeah.
Same rate.
It's really good. Me and Tara, we talked for a good while today, and talked about the TCT and what it means, and why it is important to keep it going. And she has the right spirit, the right mindset. She's been family for the very longest time. And I know that it's going to be you're not even going to tell the difference other than she'll be behind the buttons, She'll be calling the shots. I'm going to back away completely other than just doing my shows and being on other shows. We'll probably do Brain Gym sometime during the week, move it to the week. But William, I so hope that you join us more often, because I love your wisdoms. I love to hear you talk and to share with us. I always have. You have a brilliant way of insight that I think is important. And I'm really, really happy to have you with us today. And Barb, I love you. I love your wisdoms. This is such a great family with TCT Radio. We are strong. We are strong in family. We are strong in spirit and love and truth. And that's the main things that we are here for, is to actually put that out there to the people. So I'm glad TCT is still continuing and that it's going to be in good hands. So I just wanted to put that out there, give a shout out to Haggy Shack and Colleen and Nancy. Thank you. For simulcasting us and for the website. And we love you guys. And I'm going to give you guys a chance to say good night and leave with some parting words. And then we'll see you on Wednesday. Don't forget, with Unraveling the Mystery with Barbara Threecrow. And if Barry can get his stuff together, we'll have the big puzzle with Barry Prince also. So check our schedule and keep checking back on the schedule because things are going to be moved around and some new shows are going to be added. So keep abreast of that. Anyway, go ahead, William, and give us your final thoughts for today's show, and then we'll let Barb take her turn.
Well, thank you very much, Pattie, for inviting us on your show, and to Barbara and Barry for what they said there tonight. And I send love and light to both of you, all of you, to all the listeners out there. The thing I like about TCT is that we are like a family, and I hope that you feel that way. I hope that when you hear us talk, it's like talking to family. And if I've got a message from tonight's show, it is don't be afraid to make mistakes, because if you treat mistakes as lessons, then it's how you react to them, and if you react and it changes you for the good, then it's been a lesson well taught. So I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and to all the people who are in the UK. It's time to go to bed. I think it's 1 o'clock in the morning, so that's where I'm off to now. So good night, everybody, and I love you all, and love and light, and God bless you all. Just saying.
So the pizza is delivered. That's
I
an
think the pizza shop's shut now.
That's an old joke from the old TCT. William had pizza delivered one night on air, and we were all like, I want some. Anyway, go ahead, Bob.
That only happened on TCT.
Are you there, Barb? Are you with us, sis? You there, Barb? We can't hear you. Barb has left.
I think she's gone for some pizza, Pattie.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll say goodbye for Barb, and be sure to tune in, like I said, on Wednesday for Unraveling Mystery, and later on for Barry Prince's show, The Big Puzzle. And Chuck O'Celli, I think, comes on tonight, so I need to get off the air because I think they're probably waiting to come on the air. I'm not sure. But anyway, we love you guys. We thank you for listening, and love one another, and love yourself twice as much. And we'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody.